Hola, bom dia, Carl Munson of the Good Morning Portugal show from expatsportugal.com with you on 1 hour sleep, would you believe? Let's see how this goes this morning. I know yesterday I left rather abruptly without playing the end sequence, and that was because I was a little bit tired. But let's see how it goes this morning after 1 hour's sleep. Our very special guest this morning, live from the Algarve, and we'll get him on straight away, is Nuno Mendes. Good morning to you, Nuno. How are you?
Good morning all. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's so good to see you. And anybody who is anyone seems to be in the Algarve at the moment.
Yes, it's the location number one chosen by Portuguese for vacation.
Okay.
So
Yeah, okay, that's very interesting because I think a lot of expats would think, oh, the Portuguese people don't want to go to the Algarve this time of year and see all those English people drinking Guinness. They would go somewhere else. But it's a top destination for Portuguese, right?
Yes. It's not it's not the one I choose, but it's family time because I prefer Jerez, definitely Jerez, because I love the forest and the bushes and all that stuff.
Okay,
so, but it's family time.
Well, of course, and August is the holiday month in Portugal as well. So, and Gilda, yesterday would normally be visa update day, and I know Gilda is in the Algarve. We've got some beautiful pictures from some of our community from the Algarve, and I jokingly said to you, "Oh, you're on holiday," and he said, "Well, actually working in the Algarve." You're the man who never stops, I think. You're here from Winsurance, our preferred partner in the world of insurance. So I don't want to keep Nuno too long this morning. He's on holiday with his family, but he very kindly offered to pop in on the Good Morning Portugal show. So I want to talk to you about Portugal, really. But if anybody's got any questions about insurance, of course, he's the man to answer those. You mentioned Jerez. When we first came to Portugal, we drove in via Spain into Jerez. Isn't it amazing? Tell us more, Nuno. Why would you rather be there in some ways?
Well, it's forest, just because of that. Yes. Here in Algarve, we have the sun and the beaches and all of that. But in Jerez, we have the trees and the forest and the lakes and the I don't know how to tell this in English. The cascades, when the water falls down.
The waterfall, yeah.
Waterfall, exactly. Thank you. The waterfalls, which are lovely. So that's why I prefer Jerez.
Okay, amazing. And you've got a family connection up there as well, is that right?
No. The first time I went to Jerez was, I think, 4 years ago. So.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. And I was researching. We have a gardening program on a Monday evening, and we were researching the whole idea of rewilding, which is happening all across Europe, returning landscapes to them, like restoring them, reforesting and rewilding areas where the animals return. So, of course, in Jerez, you're going to have wolves and Iberian lynx, aren't you? And it was the Cal Valley, right up there in Jerez. Do you know this place?
No.
Oh, not the Cal. Coa Valley, is that right? Coa Valley.
Coa Valley.
COA, I think, maybe. And what they describe it as the Tibet of Portugal.
Never heard. Never heard.
Oh, I feel a little bit special this morning telling a Portuguese man about part of his country that he didn't know about. But go on, tell me.
You mentioned wolves, but also we have wild horses on Jerez.
Oh, wow.
It's a small species of horses, but we have wild horses in Jerez also.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so folks, look it up. Rewilding in Portugal, part of rewilding in Europe. I think it's COA, the Coa Valley. You look at it and you see these beautifully terraced hills, valleys, landscapes, and it looks, you could be in China, you could be in the Far East, you could be in Tibet, and it's just the most extraordinary part of. You're not in the Algarve. You're definitely not in the Algarve there. So let's see, Nuno. Let's see who's here this morning, and if anybody's got any insurance questions for you. I know you wanted to tell us about what's different about your travel insurance. Given that you're on holiday, seems appropriate to talk about travel insurance. But let's say hello to a few people. Stephen's here. Bon dia to you. Elra in Finland. Good morning, everybody. From Amsterdam this morning. Bon dia todos from Amsterdam. And from Australia. Look at this. Nuno, you're in good company. People all over the world. Bon dia de Australia from Drew this morning. Pilgrim pods are here. Bon dia, Ninash. Oh, that's very nice. I've not had that before. Paul Richards from Algarve in Yorkshire. It was Yorkshire Day yesterday. I don't know if you're familiar with Yorkshire in England. It's a very special part of the world. God's own county, they call it. Greetings from there in sunny Harrogate. Nuno, you have my full attention, he says. That's it. A real Yorkshireman there. Make the most of it, lad. Good morning. And from the other side of the Pennines, Manchester-born McGrady. Good morning, people at the airport waiting for the kids to arrive from Manchester. How lovely. Andy, the Doc Thompson's here. Look at this. Hola, bon dia, alegría de la ria. Had a great trip to Sintra over the weekend and met Hank and Connie again. Looking forward to seeing them relocate here. Fabulous. Nuno, when I moved to Portugal, hoping the beginning of 2022, are there special insurances for electric vehicles? An electric motorcycle, in my case. What can you do for this man?
Okay, yes, there are some insurances to that type of vehicles, but they are not very different from the usual ones. I think it's more a question of marketing from the insurers, rather than a specific insurer.
Yes, well, nothing is free of marketing in this world that we live in. So then maybe don't believe the hype. Go for something a bit more traditional that includes electric vehicles, by the sound of it.
Yes, no, and let me know that I have an electric vehicle, and it's a usual insurance policy that I have. So it's a question of marketing.
Oh, yes, of course. You drive the modern T-Bird, the Tesla, don't you? Thunder Duck is here. Bon dia for Thunder Duck. Mike Campion. Bon dia. Another rainy day in the Netherlands. There. Hi, Mike. How you doing? Sandra Costa is here. Hi, Nuno. Hi, Carl. And Mike Campion. No rain in Amsterdam so far. So a little bit of Northern European weather swapping there. Fantastic. From Portugal. Look at this validation. Bon dia de Braga. Yes, Jerez is the best. Agreeing with you there. Oh darn! I forgot about the gardening yesterday as I was in Mia's webinar. Yes, you're in big demand there, obviously, Matthias. Bon dia from Seth Joel up there in Matosinhos in Portugal, of course. Khadija in the north. Hola, moving to Suaujo in Jerez end of this month. So another fan. Amazing. Bon dia, Joel, from Matthias. Garanos, wild horses in Jerez, the Garanos. Thank you very much, Elra. You know, it is Coa. It is the Coa Valley, says Thomas Malloy, who will be joining us actually at 9:30 or thereabouts to talk about his approach to looking after, restoring, taking care of, surveying older buildings here in Portugal, and no doubt other things that I've neglected to mention right there. Me, my dog and bike must be Limburg again. That's very specific Netherlands stuff up there. I need advice on house insurance. Or infuriance here. Maybe it's an infuriating insurance that could be talking about there. Winsurance, of course, you do house insurance. Can you tell us a little bit about your house? What might be different about your house insurance policies?
Well, the policies are available to all the brokerage, but we have usual policies and also very specific for premium houses. With fine art content and so on. So it depends of the house, the property, and depending on that, we drive through normal insurer rather than a most premium insurance. Yeah. What some people don't know is that in Portugal we have earthquakes every year. Okay. Small earthquakes, but if you search on the internet, you can find the earthquake where it's happening, earthquakes, and Portugal every year, some earthquake hits the mainland.
Right. They don't tell you.
It's a special coverage that we advise to include every time.
Okay. Just in case your favorite bit of china that your grandmother gave you falls off a shelf while the earthquake is happening. That can be insured. by the sound of it. I get it. I get it. No, you said these are policies that brokers would have access to. The difference with you, I like to think, is you get a personal service, so you get the best of all worlds. I know you've put me right about this. I said, it's great. You're real people who answer the phone and you can talk to, and you are like, well, yeah. But we are ultra personal and we're ultra digital as well. So this is a firm that is great at both ends of things here, digital and personal, right? How many other insurance people would you be able to speak to like this? If I said I'm talking to my insurance broker, most people would think I'm talking to a handset or a computer. But here you are, a real man, a real person who we can speak to here. Sorry, you were going to add something there.
Yes, no, I strongly believe that the technology must be part of the business.
Yeah,
it's a key factor, but it's also a key factor. Could talk to someone rather than today I'm Anna, tomorrow I'm Nuno, then I'm Sandra, then I'm Tanya.
Yeah.
I'm lost with all the calls and with the people I talk with.
That's right. Yeah. And I'm always pleased to know you've always recognized me. It works the other way around as well.
Insurance, it's mostly credit. And if we know someone and we trust on him or her or in the brand, so it's credit. It's I feel comfortable to talk with and to do business.
Yes, and as we discovered, I don't have a Tesla. I have a 20-year-old Skoda Fabia that someone very kindly gave me, and it was all new to me, including going to the registro and changing the ownership and everything, and all the stress that expats have with that. And one of the easier bits was like, no, can you help me with the insurance? Yep, send me this, and this. We did it on WhatsApp, didn't we? And then one of your colleagues sent me the policy, done and dusted. And I think I'm all insured for my car for something like 19 euros a month. You can't be making much money out of that one, Nuno.
Well, people translate the insurance in how much does it cost? What is the premium? But we need to do questions. This is the key factor and the difference between go to the internet, fill the questionnaire, and then obtain a price. But and now that we start talking in vacations. For example, travel insurance. What is the destination? Because if someone goes to United States, our main concern is to have a high amount to emergency expenses.
Of course.
But if someone goes to Africa or the deep forest in India or South America, the concern is the repatriation. So
indeed,
we need to do questions.
Absolutely. Look at this, Paul. This is a glowing testimonial. Yorkshiremen are very plain speaking, and they don't give a compliment out unnecessarily, I can tell you. I can verify the service, says Paul. While on holiday, Nuno contacted me at 10 p.m. last night. Now that is service. I'm thinking this is almost cruelty. This man's on holiday. I'm speaking to him at 9 a.m, and Paul's keeping him busy at 10 o'clock at night. I'm feeling bad now. Okay, so morning, Nuno. Carl, do you cover a minibus, a 9-seat insurance for business applications? So Gary's thinking of getting his old green jacket on, his pea green jacket, and maybe doing a few tours around central Portugal. Can you help him?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, simple.
We talk then.
All right, Gary. You can talk to him at 11 o'clock tonight after his 10 o'clock. We already had an earthquake there here in the north, and we are from Los Angeles. So, yes, earthquake, insurance, and fire. Sounds like an old band from disco band. Earthquake, insurance, and fire, doesn't it? Boogie Wonderland. Gareth's here as well. I'm so curious about the options for life insurance. What is required to have life insurance policy in Portugal? Lots of questions for you this morning, Nuno.
Okay. Life insurance, so we need to know what is the insured amount or the amount insured and the birth dates. And then with that, we choose
Okay,
on the
all
market.
right, and you'll get a selection as well. This is certainly what happened for us, not with life insurance, but with health insurance. We had small, medium, and large to choose from. Well researched by Nuno and the team.
Yes,
Mike likes the sound of it. Sounds like a good plan. I'll definitely contact Nuno for insurance once I move to Central Portugal, probably just before buying my place. Excellent. Graças here, Dona Graça, from I think her people are from the north of Portugal, but from Ana Dia this morning. Diz bon dia to you, lovely Graça. See you soon, I think. Nuno, how is driving the electric vehicle in Portugal? Especially, look, we're asking you everything this morning. How are the charging stations here in the Netherlands? We've got very good coverage. Is it good in Portugal?
Yes, I think so. The key factor of driving electric vehicles is to be very disciplined.
Yeah.
For instance, when I have a meeting, I'm search where I can charge my car, and I simply charge it. But for traveling across Portugal, I think that it's not a Tesla. If he's a Tesla, it's okay driving because we have the superchargers from Portugal. It's a lack of service on Castelo Branco, but apart of that, we have a very good coverage but also the gasolineiras, the stations.
Oh yeah.
Also have now charges, so it could take a little bit charging, but no one stays without charging if he's aware of the distance and where the charges are. We have an application here in Portugal that is Mio.
That's getting some.
Yes, and we can search where are the chargers and if they are available and what is the speed of charging. So I think I don't feel any problem.
Very good. All right, we'll come back to all the comments about electric vehicles. Let's see if there's anything else about insurance here. But there's your question answered, Matthias. If buying a large piece of land with ruins that are going to be rebuilt, what do you do for possession insurance? When does building insurance kick in? Do you have to have a roof, basically, I think, is what he's asking. Do you have to have windows and a roof to get house insurance?
Yes. Well, it's not. We can't insure a ruin, but when someone starts building the construction, we could handle an insurance for that. But the house insurance, the full property insurance, only after the complete the construction of it.
Okay, very good. Jose is here. Espiritu Santo Zay. Good morning to you. Hi, Nuno. Possibly one of your friends there. Nuno looks like a one-stop shop for all insurance, but is he? What if I want to insure my Pokemon card collection, Nuno? Can you handle that for me?
Your Pokemon?
Is that? I don't really have Pokemon cards, but if let's say I did, or if I had a collection of antique thimbles, could you help me with something like that?
Yes.
Okay. He is the one-stop shop then, Mike. Absolutely right.
Antique vehicles. Is that so?
Okay. No, these are little, anything, like little collectibles or artwork. Can you do that sort of thing?
Oh, a collection.
Yeah.
Yes, we can cover collections, but then depends if this is a collection with value or if it's just
sentimental value. Okay,
exactly.
Yeah.
So sentimental value we can insure.
All right, brilliant. Gareth, driving EV is very good in my opinion. I've got one myself. It's pretty great, and loving the Mio app as well. You never need a card to charge. Leiria, thanks Doc for this. A lot of electric vehicle charging stations in Leiria, in the high street, in the malls everywhere by the sound of it. Mio app supports all chargers except Tesla, which makes it easy. Well, one can make a trip from north to south on the main highway. There are fast chargers along the way for the trip. We knew Joel would know the answer to that. He's right, says Gareth. Onity, is that right? Chargers 350 kilowatt on highways. It's awesome. Ionity, that's the brand there. The only thing that Tesla charges don't accept other vehicles for now, but I've heard that the policy from Tesla is going to change, but don't take my word for it. Can you not go into a Chinese shop and get an adapter? No.
Can I go to where?
I wondered if you could go to a Chinese shop, you know, the Loja Chinaise, and buy an adapter to put the Tesla charger, you know, and then you can stick it into one of the other machines.
It's not a question of the connector. It's a question of recognizing the car, because when I connect the car to the charger, Tesla knows that it's my car, that is a Tesla that is charging on it.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it's like the
software, not hardware. Question is
software. Okay, so it sounds like it's the Apple of the electric vehicle world.
Yes.
Nothing to do with the cable, it's the account. Okay, I get it now. Margarita, bon dia. We've got some photos, a video of you, Margarita, coming up with your Great Dane on the beach. And the Tesla adapters are Euro standard, so other cars fit, they just don't charge. Okay, the mystery has been solved, and I think it's only right that we let this wonderful man go off to have some holiday time with his family. What is the first thing a Portuguese man does on holiday in the Algarve? Are you off to get pastel de nata? Are you going to go eat some bacalhau early on in the day? What are you going to do?
No, I'd like to stay at home, go to the beach around 8 a.m. Then I leave the beach around 11, came to home, eat something, stay on the jacuzzi outside, and then do a nap. That's my day.
There you go, folks. That's how to do holidays like a Portuguese guy. You're back from the beach by mid-morning. That sounds very, very smart. Very smart indeed. Okay. Maybe even before the Germans. I don't know. Anyway, Nuno, have a great day. Have a great holiday. Thank you so much for dropping in.
Thank you very much to all be here having me.
All right. So Nuno Mendes from Winsurance. Have a great holiday. We'll speak to you soon. We'll see you in September.
Bye. See you.
Yes, see you. Nuno, a great character in the scouting movement in Portugal, and I hope we'll be reporting from a scout camp in September. What an intrepid guy he is. Holiday today, scout camp next month. Hold on a minute. Let's have a look. What people are still talking about electric vehicles. We're going to talk to Thomas in a few minutes. We've got some photos to show as well. We had EVs in Los Angeles for 6 years. I wouldn't trust Tesla to add other vehicle charging capability. It is like Apple. He promised that years ago. Instead, he sent a Tesla into space. Oh, Khadijah's not happy, is he? About what's his name? Going into, is it Jeff? Probably turn off the phone is the first thing to do. Is that to do with the charging? I don't know. Don't use your phone charger for that. It's the vaccine passport of the car world. The car needs to show its papers to get charged. Well, that is a transferable analogy there by the look of it. For now, what I've heard is that Tesla will implement, it's not Jeff Bezos, is it? What's the other fella? Thomas will know, he'll tell me in just a moment. Will implement other vehicles in their charges in the US. Just a question. I mean, they're all the same, aren't they? These guys with loads of money flying rockets into space. I can't tell one from another these days. Just a question of waiting and seeing. I do have a feeling that it won't be cheap. As other brands, says Joel, to charge Tesla cars. Thanks, Nuno from Capricorn 12. Good morning, Capricorn 12. I thank you for being here. If your car needs to communicate with the charger, then it must be identifiable, therefore trackable to study your movements, says Gary, who'd rather be driving probably a 1978 9-seater minibus where you know where you stand and nobody else does, except for the sound of it coming over the hill. Elon Musk, of course, says Dominic. Of course, it's Elon, isn't it? Dear old Elon. What an interesting fellow he is. Thank you so much all for having me today. No, the perfect gentleman. Not only is he turning up on his holiday, he's thanking us. I wish we'd got him a goodie bag or something like that. What a gent. What a fella. Bon dia todos from Andrew Gilchrist. So talking of, hold on a minute. I thought that said Elra was saying that Elon Musk is an idiot. He is no idiot. Just what I saw before I read it properly. He is no idiot. Okay. Talking of Andrew Gilchrist, as we have a few photographs of the Algarve mainly before we get Thomas on. to talk about the new listing in our business directory that I think will be of some interest to a lot of expats, particularly in the cooler parts, but not necessarily of Portugal. Let's have a look. What have we got here? We got some lovely pictures from Doug yesterday. Do you remember this beautiful picture from Nazaré on the beach there? Very quiet, said Doug, and not as busy as he would have hoped for Portugal at the moment. He continued to send pictures. The open road. I think that's a fantastic shot of Portugal. That's a shot a lot of people want to see when they come here. The open road ahead of you in Portugal like that. Characteristic, typical scenery, not so typical sky. I'm not happy about that sky particularly. I'm looking for a different shade of blue there. But isn't that lovely? The road to yourself and then a lovely cottage that you'll have passed with. Is that with the bougainvillea outside? Isn't that lovely? That's very Portuguese, that picture, with the painted mullions. And I'll find out if that is the correct description of that architectural feature from Thomas in just a moment. It's not, or maybe I won't. Okay, let's have a look as well. I was up at 6. I had an hour's sleep, and I was up at 6 this morning with our Expats Portugal plan folks who do the 6 o'clock Q&A with me. One of them, Martin, is in the Algarve as well. Everyone's in the Algarve pretty much, except for me and Thomas. I said to him, can you send us a picture? He offered to send a picture. I said, yeah, please do. Send it in to us. Look at this, the crescent moon above the bay in the Algarve there. Isn't that beautiful? And then a little bit later on, as I was boring everybody on the call, he went off and took another photograph. Look at that, the sun rising higher into the sky there. The day dawning this very morning. In the Algarve there. Isn't that beautiful? We stay with the Algarve. We go to Fuseta now, and we see this lovely beach. Thank you, Andy, for this one. Quite similar. It's the same sun in the pictures, just a different landscape. Fuseta, quite quiet and nice. And another reason, not just the sunsets and the beaches, but here's another reason why people go on holiday, right? I don't know what that is, but he looks like a big game hunter with his collection in front of him that he's ready to devour. This is, I'm not saying that he's a big game hunter, everybody, before that starts a tirade of abuse. I'm just saying, there's an alpha male displaying his, is it a quarry? He displaying his post-hunt quarry. He's let someone else do the hunting and the cooking, like any sensible alpha male would. Doesn't it look fantastic? And finally, from the Algarve, this lovely video that Andy sent in as well, of I think partner Margarita. Look at this. There you go, in the big Great Dane. And we need to get Andy and his dinner off the screen, but I can't see where to do that at the moment. So we might have to have that for the whole interview with Thomas, unless I can remove that. No, we're good. We're good now. Thomas is here, everybody, from Rehabilitation, which is the first question to you after I've said good morning. Thomas, how are you?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you. Yes, it's a beautiful sunny morning here after a nice fresh weekend, so relatively relaxed.
Like I said, not everybody's in the Algarve. You're in a rather fabulous part of Portugal, aren't you? In the Ribatejo Valley. Could you place that for us, for those who don't know where that might be?
Yes, so it more or less corresponds to Santarém district, which is kind of up the Tejo from Lisbon. So it's the only district in Portugal that has neither a coastline nor borders Spain, which is a kind of interesting fact about it, but it's mostly sits along the river, and it's often known, particularly by Portuguese people, as having some of the more extreme temperatures, particularly in the summer.
How lovely. And so tell us about this lovely play on words that you've taken from the Ribatejo into Rehabilitation. What's that all about?
Well, rehabilitação is the word rehabilitation, which we don't really use in English, but it's effectively the term for restoration or bringing back into use, which is the basis of what our business is, essentially. And then it's kind of joined in the way that the Portuguese like to do with these things into a single word. We've got lots of things with tejo on the end around here. We've got lots of other things with riba on the beginning. So we picked one that we feel kind of works. It's got a good sound about it.
Yes.
So
okay. And in our directory, Rehabilitation provides efficient, experienced and practical support for restoration and improvement projects, helping you navigate the complex Portuguese planning and administrative system. That will come as a big relief to people. We know you say how important it is to understand our clients' objectives and provide pragmatic, realistic, and individually tailored advice. Our passion is restoration, supporting projects that seek to maintain and enhance older properties whilst making them suitable for modern living. What a lovely idea, because people come here to Portugal, don't they? Fall in love with an old building and do want to honour it in the way that you're talking about. But it's not necessarily plain sailing. There are the planning issues. There is the bureaucracy. And there might be a little bit of old-fashioned building that isn't quite right for the modern living standard, if you like. And I understand you help with that as well.
Absolutely. And one part of where the business came from was when we were first looking to move to Portugal, we fell in love with a little property. It's kind of a two-bed cottage up the Tejo Valley from here. But it was made of taipa, which is rammed earth. So, you know, it's an equivalent to an adobe building in Central America or something like that. And a lot of the older buildings in central Portugal, in the Alentejo up to about where the stone schist construction starts, are built like this. But very few people, you know, we hear that there's roughly 3 businesses in the Alentejo that still know how to work with these materials, and a lot don't. That's, the photo that's just at the top there, Carl, that you were just scrolling past, that is, in fact, that property. So on the left, you can see how it was. On the right, you can see more or less how it is. It's been improved a little bit more since then, but it's still an earth construction building, which was really important to us for a number of reasons. Firstly, it's because, you know, that is the tradition around here. We wanted to bring back what that building was. There are a few neighbors to that property. They loved it, but none of them was doing anything with it. The other thing is, these buildings didn't have some of the problems that people now associate with older buildings. So the walls are 2 foot thick. There are no windows on that side that you could see a minute ago because it faces the sun a lot of the day. So the building stays cool inside. It doesn't have a damp problem because the walls are breathable, because they're made of the soil from that area. So it's got inherent properties that make it exactly what people want for living. It didn't have running water inside the house at that time. It certainly didn't have air conditioning, but it kind of cooled itself. So we didn't want to do the unfortunate standard approach now, which is to slap a lot of concrete on it, replace the roof with something that's metal or concrete as well. We wanted to see what could be done with it. And that was, before we had the business, that was our first project.
Amazing. And a lot of people would, take the kind of long barn restoration approach, wouldn't they? And just pretty much ride roughshod over the local customs and understanding, and then end up with a very cold and damp house in the winter, not realizing what they were doing, perhaps.
Well, that's right. And unfortunately, you're right that, you know, the traditions were to build and maintain like that. And people who owned houses like that would have needed to do little bits of maintenance each year, freshening the paintwork, possibly patching in a bit of the walls, but things they could do themselves. But we are, 3 generations in now to an environment of using concrete and steel and UPVC. So the skills have been lost. So we've got loads of these beautiful buildings, and you see ruins like this all over Portugal. But there aren't the people that know how to restore them in the way they were intended to be, with the methods that they were constructed. And the second biggest, well, I'd say equal biggest problem that we come across, along with damp, which we can come on to, is the incompatibility of materials. If you try and stick concrete onto earth and sand, it doesn't work. If you put concrete beams or steel onto typical stonework or older brickwork walls, the weight and the distribution isn't likely to work. So people with the best intentions are modernizing properties, but creating a problem that sometimes manifests immediately, sometimes gets worse and worse and worse over a number of years. And that's what we want to help people avoid, if they want to take an older building and give new life to it as an older building.
Beautiful. Love that idea. And here we see, again, your sensitive touch here. On the left there is a sort of building many people will visit whilst they're searching for property. I do hope you kept that fly screen, because that's a classic. And on the right is the after picture, but you stayed with it, haven't you? You haven't destroyed it. and made it ultra modern and lost the charm that people fall in love with when they first arrive.
Well, that's right. I mean, that was the intention. You can see there the wooden roof in that particular property was unstable, and all of the wood needed to be replaced. That isn't always the case, though. Typically, a builder will immediately say you've got to take it all off. But so we replaced with a similar construction of wooden roof. And then, took an older marble sink and put it in against there because we needed to be able to wash up in the kitchen, not in the concrete tank outside like people had in the past, and found older tiles and things like that. But yeah, we kept the spirit of it. So there is very little in that house that is genuinely new. Now, some of that's the kind of the detailed personalization, which really isn't kind of so much what our business is about, but the core of it is, how do we make sure that that building can still be lived in, can still be comfortable now and in the future? And you were talking briefly earlier on with Nuno about rewilding. To me, that resonates quite a lot, because it's about a rewilding in the context of local communities, older buildings, keeping little settlements alive, either for Portuguese people or for people coming in from abroad, whichever it might be, so that these places out in the country still have life, but they have a life that's sustainable, that isn't dependent on vast amounts of electricity, things that generate heat, one thing solving the problem of another, a kind of heater to deal with a humidity issue, which you need dehumidifier for, that's caused by materials that weren't the right thing. And we perpetuate these cycles at the moment.
Yes, we do.
And we don't need to.
Very interesting indeed. Let's put the link to what you do then on the screen. And this is everything from survey and consultancy through to project management. Yeah,
some of it, honestly, at the moment, because we're a very small business, depends on location. We can always help people in terms of surveying, and we're able to survey even if the building is newer. So, even if the building is clearly a concrete type thing, but it's got problems, we can still help you diagnose what's wrong and come up with some solutions for it. Okay. Beyond that, particularly in broadly central Portugal, so from Setúbal up to Coimbra and across to the coast and the borders, we can help with more project management if people want it. And that could be helping prioritize what work you need done, coming up with strategies to deal with the camera. Again, builders will often say, you don't need to put in a project. Or people go and talk to a camera and say, we'd love to do all this stuff. And the camera come up with 15 things, which if you approach them with a bit more of a strategy, you might come up with the 3 or 4 things that really need to happen.
Well, that's useful. Yeah.
And then we can work for the client alongside builders to check on what they're doing and work with, between the two. We quite often at the moment are dealing with people who are not permanently resident in Portugal, but have bought somewhere. They're looking at doing initial work before they move over, or they're living in another part of Portugal, or they just, they're not comfortable talking to a builder in Portuguese about what they're doing. So we can kind of, if you like, handhold or liaise between the builder and the client beyond that. Or if something's already been done and it's towards the end, we can come in and provide a kind of a critical friend assessment. So we're always on the side of the person who's looking to restore. We work in partnership with, so we have some architects who work with us, but we work in partnership with some other architects and engineers, and we're developing a network of contractors we trust. But we don't work in a kind of hand in hand with builders way, in that we need to be able to independently say, you're doing, the right thing, or we need to push back and say, that's the wrong mixture that you're using on those walls. That's not what the client needs. So there's an element of independence that we need to maintain there for the clients.
Superb. And I agree completely with Fiona. And so I'm so glad to have got you on this morning, Thomas, talking about this, because I think it is a bit of a missing link. I think people want to do this actually, but haven't had a service or haven't known how. So there's a solution for you this morning. Do love your typeface that you've chosen as well. I do like the old typewriter script font that you've used there. Very stylish, very nice indeed. And we'll come back to the link in the comments after we've looked at those comments and see if there's any questions this morning. I think people are still talking about billionaires. I don't know what you're... I know that you knew it was Elon Musk and not Jeff Bezos or Richard Branson. Best thing about them, says Andrew, the billionaires, is that they leave their wealth behind. when space exploring. Is that in a worst case scenario? Thunderduck, that open road looked like Texas. Let's have another quick look at that photo. I think this is a wonderful photograph. Wrong color sky, I think you'd agree, Thomas, but that is very, very Portuguese, isn't it? Where you might not see another soul. A bit like on the toll roads, you might not see someone else for half an hour whilst driving about. Let's have a look. More comments, please. Thunderduck from Elra. Never thought Alentejo looked like Texas, but there you go. We've driven across the Alentejo, and it does look very much like Central Texas. So that could save quite a lot of money, couldn't it? If you want to know what it likes to go to Texas, try the Alentejo in the meantime. Oh, a bit of Algarve pushback. Algarve, Schmalgarve, indeed. Paul, didn't take much to make him homesick for the Algarve. Great advocate of the Algarve is Paul Richards. Gary, but Tesla, for example, already spies on your car. They have always done from the beginning. 360 degrees outside, 2 inside cameras. Not a moment's privacy in there. Tesla says they don't collect data, but really, Joel being characteristically cynical. To go with his earlier photograph, the quarry of meat and fish there, they are espadas, says Andy, but he thinks he might have got the spelling wrong. I love that photo. He looks very pleased with himself. Thunderduck from Elra. How awesome. Instead of the safari, we should have built a cowboys and Indians thing in the Alentejo. That would be an interesting visit to a theme park, wouldn't it? Monkfish and prawns, says Thunderduck, I think, describing the dish in front of Andy there. Well, Carl, no surprise there. There's only one sun in our solar system. I know how silly I can sound in a live environment. Yes, it was obviously the same sun in both pictures, but was it? Flat earthers may say differently. Thunderduck, aye, and damn good too, says Andrew, who enjoyed that. Gary, tell Andrew that they are still looking for 2 missing poodles. Oh, Gary, that's not good. Sounds like I will need to get in touch with Thomas, as I will very likely be buying land with ruins on it in central Portugal. There we go. There's a link made this morning. Thomas, has anyone likened you to Alan Rickman? Of course they have. I did, didn't I? Fairly early on in our friendship, Thomas.
You did. A few years ago, it was David Mitchell that people liken me to. Alan Rickman comes up more now. I'm fine with that. I don't hear it myself, but
I think you do enunciate a little more clearly than Alan. God rest his soul. You know, he was known as Slackjaw Rickman, wasn't he? And I think you do open your vowels a little more, if I may say so.
Thank you.
It's not every day you hear that, is it? Hi, Thomas. Half of my family is from Ribatejo, more precisely from Almarin and Muga. Is that or Muja?
Muj.
Muj, okay.
Yeah, a lovely place. And that's actually, we were there, I don't know, a couple of months ago. There's a couple of lovely quintas down that way. But other than that, Muj is somewhere that's a really good example of a very typical agricultural workers settlement attached to the quintas there. And there's a lot of potential for some of the buildings there that are falling down at the moment. It's a fantastic part of the world there across the river from Santarém.
And I think we've had this conversation before. Underrated, undervalued, because people don't go to the Ribatejo straight away, do they? They would be, if they were often heading north from Lisbon, they'd be straight on the A1 and they might give it a miss. Now, I love that drive. If you can get yourself that side of the water and drive up north through the Ribatejo Valley, maybe go to Gauguin on the way. What an amazing journey you have. Old traditional Portugal, right? The breadbasket of Portugal.
Absolutely. And the 2 sides of the river have got quite different characters. If you go up on the Gauguin side from Santarém, you go through a few lovely towns with fantastic buildings, some quite stylish architecture, some what would have been quite wealthy chapels and quintas. The other side is a rather different kettle of fish, with towns that developed a bit later, rather more dense settlements, but again, a different personality, a different dynamic to them now. So there's a lot here. And you're right, people often head up from Lisbon, and one of the first places east that they go to is Tomar. Yeah. If they go up on the left-hand side, obviously there's Óbidos, there's Alcobaça and things like that. But this side, Tomar's often the first place, and they're missing a number of places. And there's this chunk in the middle, which is overlooked, which has a lot of affection amongst Portuguese people very often for being the agricultural heartland, for family connections. And it's excellent value. There's a lot to see and do And there's a few other places. Constancia, people might have heard of, for example, on the river, which is a bit of a hot spot now. But there's 3 or 4 other places on the river that are fantastic. Abrantes is a city that's really starting to go places, and the council there's got a really good plan for the culture, for involving local people with the tourism there. It's not just about how do we get people in, it's how do we make this work for the people that live there. So it's a really interesting part of Portugal, and it still has that authenticity.
That is so good to hear. And you grow rice there, do you not, as well? Not you personally, but rice is you're a busy man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. On the eastern side of the river, there are several of the valleys there. The Sohaya Valley, for example, where there are lots of paddy fields, and that stretches right down until you get to sort of the Sado estuary, I think. So, yeah, there's rice, there's corn. This time of year, Alpiaça in particular is famous for its melons, some of the best melons in Portugal. So, yeah, there's amazing local produce here. We're quite spoiled.
What a lovely intel that you're providing this morning, because that's worth doing. Get on that side of the river and take a leisurely drive and visit those beautiful places. Cross the river on those beautiful box bridges as well. Those girded bridges are something special. It's like being suddenly in sort of Forrest Gump suddenly, isn't it? You know, that like in the Midwest America, some of those old bridges across the water there as well. Yeah. Fantastic part of Portugal. I think we missed it earlier on that Matthias has a bit of a liking for granite and schist, presumably materials that you're not afraid to work with as well.
No, absolutely. We recently, a couple of weekends ago, we were up in the Lausanne Goiche area looking at some schist buildings up there, and they're fantastic buildings in terms of their character and their original structure. They're a classic example where some of them have been coated with concrete or had an extension stuck onto them that starts to fall away because it doesn't actually bond with the stone. But there's a lot you can do with that. And some of those areas, there's a lot of local interest in actually getting those places with people living in them again. So yeah, beautiful part of the world there as well.
That is part of a very responsible part of a Portuguese heritage, I think, the academic interest in the schist villages. And they are very special, aren't they? And I think they're getting the protection and promotion that they deserve through academics as well as people interested in buildings, you know, from the craftsman point of view. Pete's here, Bleachy's here, good call, Garvo. Alan Rickman is just awesome, and Thomas should be flattered. I'm sure he is.
I am.
He is. Hi, Thomas. Good to meet you the other day, says the doc.
It was lovely to meet you too, Andy.
He's a real networker, the old doc. He's always out meeting somebody from the community.
He was spotted a couple of days later back in Santarém as well.
Was he? Has he seen and spotted on the street as well? Mm-hmm. The doc, amazing. Can you share the link to that website? Okay, that would be yes. I did do that, and I will do it again. Okay, requests are coming in now. Can Thomas say what idiot put you in charge in his best Hans Gruber accent? He's not a performer. Sure. Come on, he's a consultant.
I don't know the reference well enough to do that. I'm sorry.
Don't indulge them, Thomas. I think you know what they're like. Most of my workmen are at least 60 years old. This is an interesting point, isn't it, Thomas? You're dead right. Many of the crafts and traditions are dying out because they're frankly hard graft. The young uns don't want to do it, do they?
No. Well, and even, part of the dynamic here in a nutshell is that a lot of people who've been ambitious in construction have gone abroad. If they've come back, they're working in Lisbon, possibly in Porto, where there's more money because the salaries are low. So a lot of people, they want to work, they want to earn money, but they're a bit shy of going into things that might be more complex, might produce more work for them. And I think that's partly why people look at an older timber roof, for example, and their first reaction is to tell the client, oh, you just need to replace it all, because they know what they're in for there. They know how to do it. Whereas restoring something takes a different level of care and attention, and finding people that are up for doing that, it is tricky. We're gradually starting to find people, but it's difficult because they're not around anymore, or they're at a stage in life where they don't want the hassle, and I can understand that. So, that's it's a shame.
But therein maybe lies another project. This is a sort of thing, EU funding should cover, in my view, the protection of these skills. And I think we might just make it, mightn't we? We might just get enough young people who say, do you know what? I don't think I do want to go and live in a city. I live in paradise here in the Ribatejo Valley. If I learn the skills of my granddad or great granddad, I could have a nice little living here. So hopefully that connection will be made. From Portugal says, thank you, Thomas, for bringing back the traditions of the country and love for it. Elra continues that sentiment. Trying to preserve local materials and culture traditions is something I appreciate. In any expat going to Portugal, it's bad enough that the Portuguese immigrants go back home and build Swiss-like chalets. Do you recognise that, Thomas? I think
absolutely. And again, even up in the schist areas, some of the towns there have got exactly that. You know, you drive past them and you think, this person spent some time in Switzerland, I think. And, you know, I get the fact that, you know, people come back with a vision of what they want to build. And, you know, part of the beauty of Portugal is it is more realistic to be able to build your own house to your own design than it would be certainly in the UK, where, you know, it's usually a relatively anonymous box that you get built. But yeah, it would be nicer if people did restore things. Very often you get a new concrete or chalet-like building built onto or on a part of the land of an older building that's just crumbling away. And it's sad. You know, you kind of want to talk to them and say, can we buy that bit off you and save it while there's still time?
I mean, are you over that? Because a lot of people come to Portugal and they do want to buy pretty much every other building they see and save it from dereliction. I think you have to toughen yourself up with that, don't you? And not necessarily fall into that.
Well, that's absolutely right. And also, you know, clients sometimes will want things that aren't what we think is the best thing for the building. And in that context as well, you know, you have to be resilient to the fact that you can't save every building. You know, more or less out my window here, I can see a building on the corner of the street that will collapse in the next 2 or 3 years. Nobody's interested. Nobody wants to sell it. It's a real shame. But if we can help people that want to save some characterful buildings to do that, then we're achieving something. But if I had a lot more money, I think buying up some properties to save them would be what I'd do with it.
Start a charity. So Elra continues, nothing against with Swiss chalets. I mean, they're beautiful, but have not much to do with the local area architecture or surrounding village. Spot on, Elra. We've seen those, and often a lot worse. You know, there are quite a lot of statement houses, aren't there? You get the feeling that someone's got wealthy and thought, I'll tell you what, I'm going to show the whole community that I'm wealthy now, and build something with a swirling staircase up the front. You know the sort of thing I mean? Double fronted with verandas and the gravel drive and maybe a fountain in the front. And what's the thing in Portugal about having a gate and gate posts, but actually no fence or wall next? Have you seen? Do you know what I mean? Have you seen?
Yeah, it's very common. The area kind of west of Santarém, the countryside on that side where it's kind of rolling hills. You get quite a lot of that. You get a little hillock that's got a relatively new house, might be something from the 60s, in which case it's probably quite fun, or it might be from the 2000s, in which case it's a bit boxy. But yeah, you've got blooming great gate posts built with gates, and then you can just walk around or even drive around the side of it. I guess the aspiration is that they might wall in their estate in the future. I don't know, but you know, I guess you can say to friends, you know, I'm the ones with the gate that's got the lions and the owls on top of the posts, and
the football eagles on the top. Or maybe it's like a mafia thing, and you only get the right to wall it, you know, after a certain level of service to the community or the boss or something like that.
You have different insights to me, Carl.
An entirely different imagination, don't I? These traditional, it gets me into all sorts of trouble. These traditional construction methods are sturdy enough without the need for concrete and steel. Great low footprint on the environment. So Andrew,
absolutely right.
He's an engineer. He knows about these things. Brian E. Took. Hi, Nuno and Carl. Oh, this was some time ago after Nuno went. But I'm sure he's probably picked up on this. Planning to move to Portugal and bring my vintage. Oh, this is what you need for the photo shoot of one of your restorations, Thomas. The vintage 40-year-old Citroën right-hand drive. Can I insure and drive it in Portugal? I'm going to say yes on Nuno's behalf. And we want a photo shoot outside one of Thomas's restoration projects with that. I bet that's beautiful with the great big headlamps on it.
Yeah, it would look better than my 2006 Renault Laguna.
With no disrespect to you, you're absolutely right. As we've seen before, Fiona and Simon, what a great service. This is great. I was going to ask for someone to talk in a webinar or on Good Morning Portugal about this type of stuff, plus the buying cycle of how to check what you are buying. So, Thomas, right, check it, tick in that box. And we may well do a webinar, right?
Yeah, we've been talking about that, and I think we'll hopefully line one up in the next couple of months, and we can go into some of the issues that are most common and that people mostly need support on, and see what's most useful for people. Love to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think the pressure's building for that, and also the legals with it as well, Stephen, of course, and that's what they can do. These guys, Pilgrim Pods, vintage 40-year-old Citroen. Thanks, Bryony. Now I feel old. Yeah, it's a bit of a scary thing, isn't it, when you think of a vintage car and it's younger than you are? I'm very vintage too, says Bryony, making Pilgrim Pods feel a little bit better. Not espadas, but espetos. Thank you, Joel, for that point of order. We're always happy to receive a correction from a Portugueser. Fantastic service, Thomas, by the way. Love the way you see things, says Garvo. Andy, we loved our trip up north, up the North Bank. Great advice from Thomas. Places to look at. Fantastic. Oh, we should say as well, you're the curator, the guardian of the Ribatejo Living Group, which is a great resource. Do people have to live there to be part of that and to view it?
No, the idea is that it's, for people who live there, who are visiting, who are looking at buying, it's really about, the place itself. It doesn't replicate what something like Expats Portugal does in terms of the general support. It's about what's going on, what's good, what's local in the Ribatejo. So if you live there, if you're interested in coming, it's hopefully a good group for you to be part of.
Ribatejo Living Group on Facebook, everybody. Paul Williams only just turned on as preparing for a delivery by Algarve Removals today. Algarve again. We'll catch up with the rest later today. Nice to see and hear Thomas. Easily spotted on my chair. You do cut a dash with the emphasis on dash, I think, Doc. Damn, Doc, you're part of the Portuguese gossip already. He is actually. He is the subject of many rumours, many of which I've started, I have to say. Being spotted and stuff, yes, as well as Garvo. Garvo, I believe, was in a cafe, and people were pointing and staring and saying, "That's the guy from the man cave over there." Do you know that Doc is a drinking buddy with Luis Pato? Yes, you see, he's a real socialite and bon viveur, friends with Luis Pato as well. That's an important name in the Portuguese wine scene. We haven't even mentioned wine from Ribatejo, but again, obviously, it's great wines from around there. Carlinho from Carolina Moonbeam. How lovely. Love your jolly broadcasts here in Yorkshire. Question for you and Thomas. Experienced a strong 6.0 earthquake in the Algarve in 2009. Do terremotos also affect central Portugal? So, yes, you've got to factor that in, haven't you, Thomas?
Yeah, and it is, they affect, effectively all of Portugal could be affected, but there is a kind of a fault line that obviously primarily affects Lisbon, but that does kind of head up Portugal a little bit. And then there's another fault line off the southern coast, which is why the Algarve gets a certain number of these things. I think mild earthquakes are very common. There are some great apps you can get for these things. Things happen kind of all the time that nobody really notices. We've been in this region 3 years. We've experienced one, which was just like a single massive gust of wind hitting the side of the house, and it did no damage. But they do happen. And the 1755 earthquake in Lisbon did demolish a certain amount of Santarém. But since then, nothing of that kind of magnitude's happened. So it's worth taking into account. Obviously, insurance brokers know all about what needs to be taken into account. And also, we can advise in terms of what makes sense and also the periods in which construction took it into account. There was a construction boom in, I think, the late 19th, early 20th century. Matthew would know better. In Lisbon, in some of the avenidas in Lisbon were built without much regard to that kind of thing. Newer things and older things were built with it taken into account. And some people may know the Pombalino structures in the Baixa in Lisbon with that very characteristic wooden kind of web of in the walls, which are often now exposed and even worse, sometimes cut out and put on display somewhere, which have been keeping those buildings from falling down in the future. So if you see a house that's got those built in, leave them there.
Yes, good tip. Thank you for that. Some proper value from Thomas there. Do not do that, folks. So there you go. I hope that works, Carolina Moonbeam, and your lovely name there. I am all for restoring, and we'll try and do as much of it myself as I can, says Matthias. Skills like farming and house renovation, etc., are running very short. We need to retain these skills and pass them on to future generations before they're gone for good. Absolutely right. Our carpenter is 63. Apprentice said he couldn't cope with the work. He said he was a master craftsman, but he was breaking his body, and this was for a guy in his 20s. We had to get a workman from an hour and a half away because, as Thomas said, all the good ones were working abroad from the area there. Amazing, Pete. Very, very interesting. At Carolina Moonbeam, earthquakes aren't that common in Portugal. However, they do happen more in the central and south. We'd love to do one of the old stone buildings up and make some memories. Isn't it? It's a lovely Portuguese idea, isn't it? And I think more and more people will be doing that. So this is very timely, Thomas, as well. Thank you for that info from the lovely Carolina Moonbeam. I believe that the wider the staircase leading up to the house meant in the old days, the wealthier the family are. So that's why staircases are wider than needed in some cases. Okay, so it is the statement. Why so many staircases with no handrails, Thomas? It wouldn't happen, would it, in more health and safety conscious countries? Have you seen this?
Yeah, honestly, that's not something I've ever kind of investigated. But yeah, I guess, it just wasn't a health and safety feature that was felt to be needed. But yeah, it is quite common to just have a set of steps with nothing at the sides, isn't it? Particularly going up towards the front of a building. And I think the staircase we've got here on the outside had nothing on the side until 20 years ago, probably.
Amazing. I think kids learn faster than in Portugal. In Algarve, we have a beautiful, huge manor house that must have been awesome in its day. If I had a lottery win, I'd have to save it because it's just so tragic watching it fall down. It's like in San Martinho de Porto, the Hotel do Parque, a major historical landmark there. It's like the owners can't be found or won't take an offer or they can't agree. And that is a bit of a crime, I think. But there you go. It is part of the culture. I was an engineer, so not shy of hard work. Says either Fiona or Simon there. Andrew, Matthias, self-build is sometimes the best solution. I'd love to work in traditional materials using skills that I don't use so often in the factory and to take my time and enjoy doing them. Too much pressure in production environments. Glad I'm out of it. Time to live life. Yeah, it is a part of the age we're living in, isn't it, as well? The sort of culture of not having enough time to do things. Wine and smiley faces. That's the dog expressed by the emoticon. That's the man there. I think that's his business card, isn't it? It's like that. Thanks for that info, Thomas. Pombalino after the Marquis de Pombal, is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah, Pombalino. Not a popular man in many ways, but he got the job done, didn't he? The old Marquis in Lisbon. They're rebuilding, of course, after the earthquake. The house in Suajo we have bought is literally hewn out of rocky hillside upon which it sits in the mid-80s and no roof insulation, which I can't understand why it wasn't done later. The seller was a contractor. A bit of work ahead. Often it's the same, isn't it? The cobbler's children are the most poorly shod. You can't always rely on builders to finish off their own houses, can you? Because they're too busy doing other people's, I think.
Well, that's right. And occasionally there are good reasons why they haven't chosen to do that in terms of the way they use the space, which probably wouldn't be what was done now. But yeah, I'm guessing they never got around to doing it. There's things on this house that really need some attention. But, if you're running a business, if you're out busy all the time, you don't always get around to it. Indeed.
This is a nice touch. Old stairs have uneven treads that slope downwards. I remember working on a restoration of a manor in Devon when I was involved a little bit in the building business, and in the annex, I think it was in the nanny's quarters, would you believe, they made a little winding staircase, and I was involved in putting some of the stud work and chicken wire in so that it could be plastered, but they angle ground the stone steps to make them look older in the way that I think Andrew's referring to there. Yeah. Brilliant idea, says either Fiona or Simon this morning. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you here. I realise we're just going past 10 o'clock this morning, Thomas, but it's been a pleasure to have you here. Portuguese gentleman kicking off the show, Nuno of Winsurance. Check him out, winsurance.pt. And to conclude in this second half, an English gentleman now residing in the Ribatejo Valley, which I hope you have on your business card. And with a new project, this is, let me get this right, Rehabilitejo. The new company. I think my technology's gone a bit wonky there. Okay, it's showing up on the screen now. Rehabilitejo. All the details you need right there. Let me pop that in the comments again. Any parting words, comments, anything I've missed, Thomas, this morning?
I think we've covered things quite well, but we'd be delighted to talk to anybody that's interested in looking at older buildings or that needs support with any issues they're coming up with. And I hope that we can have a webinar over the next couple of months at which we can address some of the issues that are most commonly faced by people. We'd love people not to be put off by older buildings, because you needn't be. And I think a lot of what draws people to Portugal is that character. And you don't necessarily get it from a new construction. So if we can help people, if people want to chat, want some advice, reach out and we'll talk to them.
Superb. What a great invitation. A theory here about handrails. No handrail on the stairs to get in the way when moving things upstairs in upside down houses, including your grand piano, which would take pride of place in the morning room or the drawing room. Great show, gentlemen. Nice to put a voice with a face, Thomas, there. One you'll never forget. Thomas, thank you so much. I look forward to being in your company, and I'll go and write that memo to Astrid immediately about this upcoming webinar where you'll be a star of the show again.
Lovely. Well, thank you. And you know, I'll involve Matthew, who's our technical expert in that as well, so he can answer those detailed questions like what the mullions are that you were referred to before we started talking.
Was right? Were those, the beautiful typical Portuguese house, white render, blue stonework around the windows? Are those mullions? Or
no, but I don't know what the word is. Mullions are the vertical bars within a window. So if it's divided up into panes, they're mullions, and another word beginning with M that I've forgotten. That's the horizontal ones. But
I see. I'll have to go and mullion that over.
I'll have to find out the term for you and come back to you on that. But the windows here are beautiful. We've got an artist friend who does basically pictures just of windows and doors and never gets bored.
Superb. Okay, so I asked Nuno what a Portuguese man does first thing in the morning on holiday in the month of August. How do you like to start your days? I know I've delayed you a little bit possibly in starting your day, but what's a typical start to a ribotejo day for you?
Honestly, mainly coffee first. I don't know that I have a typical day, to be honest. We live in an area where it's not a convenient walk to a pastelaria, literally where we are in Santarém, which is such a shame. Otherwise, that would be it. But certainly, taking in some views from the end of the road over the valley, some of the typical views of the Ribatejo. If we get a chance to get out early in the morning before it heats up after coffee, then that's a good start to the day.
Sounds wonderful. Just one quickie then. Do you go as far as the Beira-Beja in the mountains?
We can certainly we'd certainly consider taking a look at a house there. We need to kind of exactly where it is. It would be harder for us to give very kind of detailed ongoing support if we needed to go there a lot, just because of distance. But drop us a line through the website or on Facebook and give me an idea of where it is, and I certainly, if we can help, we will.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Thomas. See you soon, my friend.
Take care. Nice talking to you.
It's time for us to say goodbye. Ciao, ciao. Até logo. Beijinhos, abraço.